the Paul Heyman promo.
Oh yeah. I think the only reason actually this wasn't my segment of the night is this is just another day that ends in Y for Paul Heyman.
But I feel
This
like this was even better than usual for me.
well that's great. That's great. You know what? You saying that, I want you to take the reins on this. What did you think about this Paul Heyman promo?
You know what made it better than usual?
What's that?
I was scared for his life. I thought he was going to have a heart attack in the ring.
He gets so into his own mic work, and I mean that in the best possible
That's what
way.
I'm saying though. Like he was so passionate and so into his promo. He is the only person in the WWE right now that using his words can make a wrestling match feel real. Like it has real stakes.
Dude, I mean, I really like to keep like a cleaner mouth onto it, or at least I try to. But I'm gonna say he's the best fucking promoter in the business right now. Like he has forced me to go that far because how he promoted this SummerSlam, and he went down the gauntlet because everybody uses the catchphrase, the grudge match of the century or the rematch of the decade, and this. And Paul Heyman's like, no, 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 no. It's not any of that. It's not the rematch of the
Using that,
year.
I love too because he's using the reverse logic where it's like, no, 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 this isn't something you want to buy, and it makes people want to buy it more.
Exactly.
Because he
It,
was
uh,
like, no, 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 this isn't going to be the fight of the century. What are you talking about? This is going to be a slaughter, and it makes people like, no, no, Undertaker's going to win, man, and they want to buy the ticket then.
Absolutely. And the one tagline that I really like that he used, he said, "This is the match too big for WrestleMania." Like, holy shit. Like, way to really sell it. I loved it. I loved that Paul Heyman has that mentality every time he gets on the microphone. What do I need to sell? And then I sell it.
Yep.
It so good every time. And I'm not asking every wrestler to do that because I think only Paul Heyman can do it as well as he does.
Right.
Nobody can really
And that's the
replicate.
thing. If you can't be the best at something, don't try doing it because there's no point in being second best at anything.
Exactly. I mean, I couldn't have really said that any better. I love that he brings up the fact, Undertaker has never beaten Brock Lesnar, getting a little bit historical there because, I mean, obviously this isn't the first time these guys have mixed it up,
Yeah, I
nor
mean
was the WrestleMania match.
yeah, that goes back to what 2002, 2003.
Yeah, 2002, 2003, around that area. Yeah. And I love that he brought that up because Brock Lesnar just seems to be the one monkey on the Undertaker's back, and we're talking about the Undertaker here, and I think that's
Yeah.
what makes it work so well.
And what's crazy is that, like, if you really think about it, like we were just saying, this is like a 13-year journey for the Undertaker, and it's almost the exact opposite of the streak because the Undertaker was successful for 21. Actually, it ended up being like 23 years because he missed a year or two, but 21 matches, and then he finally got taken down. This is the opposite of that. He's been unsuccessful for 13 years, and now he wants to get that win.
Yeah, he wants it. Because I feel like the one asterisk by the Undertaker's career at present never beat Brock Lesnar.
Yep.
And Heyman knows that. And I love that because you see, I think Undertaker, I mean, obviously he didn't even say it explicitly. Like he didn't use that kind of reasoning. He said, he kept bragging about the win. But I think Heyman takes us deeper into that because I think a lot of fans, and I think you saw it too, Ashton, they were like, I don't know. Seems like a pretty flimsy foundation to do a feud if you're the Undertaker. You're this Grim Reaper. You're this kind of like, zombie-esque gimmick. And you have reasons like, oh, the guy was bragging too much. It seems a bit, whatever, not, whiny, whatever. But Heyman makes it more psychological. Like, you have never beaten Brock Lesnar. And I love when they do stories like that. They did that story with Shawn Michaels on his way out. Like, he had to beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania. He would do anything to get back in the ring with The Undertaker at
And the
WrestleMania
crazy
36.
thing is, like, the Undertaker didn't even make him put his career on the line. He just straight up said, if I can't beat you at WrestleMania, I don't want to be in this business anymore because it'll prove to me that my career was not worth it.
Exactly.
And he put his own career on the line because of that. And I love that. And I mean, I don't think they're going to do that with Taker because obviously they want him to have a big match in Texas. And that'll be WrestleMania 32. But I still think that the fact that Paul Heyman is making this so personal is great. And what I also love, he actually went out of his way to point out Undertaker kicked my client in the groin.
Yes.
I
Yeah, I
love
love that
that
too.
because it's starting to feel, up until tonight, it was starting to feel like Taker was the face and Lesnar was just kind of this neutral force of killing power. But if you combine the new voice that Taker was using last week, which, granted, somewhat comical, very villainous,
Right.
combine that with the fact that he used an underhanded tactic to get the upper hand against Lesnar at the pay-per-view when he ran in, and combine all of that with the fact that now Paul Heyman is bringing it up and he's pointing out that Undertaker is playing dirty this round. I think that they are not necessarily trying to build up Taker as a heel, but really going out of their way to point out that Brock Lesnar isn't the bad guy in this.
And to kind of add on to that, I mean, say what you will about Paul Heyman, but it seemed like, what was it, just last week the big brawl occurred, or was that also 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
That was last week. Undertaker came in when Paul Heyman was still in the ring, and it looked like he was going to hurt Paul Heyman. Now, again, say what you will about Paul Heyman.
Babyfaces, dude, freaking John Cena has done that, so that's...
I mean, that's true, but again, it doesn't change the fact that Paul Heyman's right. He is just an advocate. He can't defend himself.
Actually,
so
it was
Undertaker,
2 weeks ago, now that I think about it.
Okay, so yeah, I thought it was 2 weeks ago. But so yeah, Undertaker was going to hurt a defenseless man. Again, say what you will about Paul Heyman, it doesn't exactly make Undertaker look the best. And Brock Lesnar makes the save, and he charges Undertaker head on. So I do agree with you. When you consider all that, he's not explicitly coming out as a heel because they know it would be a failure. They know it'll be an absolute failure. Those fans aren't going to boo the Undertaker. Yeah. They love him.
Yep.
But they're making it seem like he's a heel in the sense that he's been poisoned by obsession, and obsession is a heel trait in their eyes. And I like that, because I would have considered Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 26, well, not the out-and-out heel, certainly the implied heel, considering he screwed Undertaker out of the world title, he alienated his friends, he was super kicking officials, and he was just going on this downward spiral. They're doing a excuse me.
Whoa, get your breath, brother. It's all good.
They're doing a similar story here with the Undertaker, and I really, really like that. So, yeah, I love those psychological trips, and I love that we're doing it with a guy that's been known for his psychological warfare over the years. So, Great stuff.
Yeah, I just want to make you're all right. You're all right.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good, man.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, the side effects of G1 Climax.
There you go, baby. Ain't no stopping us, though. We're going to keep going to the end.
All right, up next, we had another viewing of Cena getting his nose jacked up. And then we went to a commercial, and then we got the replay of Charlotte submitting Nikki Bella earlier tonight. And this was Nikki Bella. I think I said Nikki Belly, but Nikki Bella. And this was the kind of the spot in the show where I was just getting kind of annoyed with all the redundancy. Because, like, do we really need to see John Cena getting his nose messed up again? And then they went to a commercial. It's like, oh, so another commercial. And then another replay, this time of Charlotte submitting Nikki. And it's like, oh my God, come on. We've seen all this stuff multiple times already. We don't need to see it again. And then we get into our sixth match of the night, Paige versus Naomi. And immediately I had this strange thought that Naomi was going to win, just to kind of be like, oh, well, I guess Sasha isn't the only person who's capable in Team Bad. But then no, there's no way they're going to have Paige lose on the night that she's going to be on the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast. So naturally Paige is going to win. And she did via PTO.
Yeah, and it was a solid match. To add to your complaints just very quickly, you know what I wanted to say at the top of TwitWow? I felt like I would have liked this Raw better if it was still in its old 2-hour format. Because you could really see with all the redundancies, sometimes the strain of doing 3 hours of content.
Yeah, I mean, if you cut out, think about it this way, John. If you cut out all the commercials, the difference between 2 hours and 3 hours is about 45 minutes. Again, we're not counting commercials here.
Right.
And it felt like there was about 45 minutes worth of a combination of Roddy Piper tributes, replays, look backs at stuff that's happened in prior weeks that they could have just said, lots of different stuff like that just kind of added up to nothing. And now, I mean, obviously the Roddy Piper tribute had to happen. In my opinion, they could have just done the 10-bell salute and then the video package at the beginning, but no, they had to play the video package again at some other point in the night. So again, just kind of, it felt like the creative team was going out of their way to make excuses for themselves to be lazy.
Absolutely. As far as this match goes, again, nice matchup. I'm loving that the women, are getting more matches, more time. You already know our complaints about this whole thing, from earlier in the show. Paige does get the win with the PTO, so the submission sorority goes 2-0, for this Monday Night Raw, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Up next, we had a Stardust promo. He mentions that Neville panders, which I thought was kind of odd. But then he does the old, if you won't be my hero, who will? And while he was saying who will, he kind of did like a gesture like he was pulling an arrow back on a bow, kind of like what King Cuerno does when he does that amazing suicide dive of his. And apparently Stephen Amell actually responded to this on Twitter and he's going to be on Raw next week.
Yeah, that should be good. I actually feel like this is going to be one of those celebrity things that
Isn't
comes
hard.
off really well. Yeah. Yeah, because Cody Rhodes is a solid worker. I mean, let's not forget that in the midst of how we feel about the Stardust gimmick, individually.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know
Uh,
if you saw it, John, but they actually put out a an article on WWE.com. I don't know if it was today or yesterday. Basically, it was a list of WWE writers' opinions on who could replace John Cena,
right.
and it was Ambrose and well, the crazy thing is all three members of the Shield got mentioned: Ambrose, Reigns, and Rollins. But then there are a few other people that got mentioned. Finn Balor got mentioned. I feel like Adrian Neville might have gotten mentioned. Sasha Banks was actually on the list, which I thought was
Wow.
incredible. But then Cody Rhodes was on the list. He was another one of the people just because of the insane amount of charisma. He has a good look. He's amazing in the ring. He just got everything that you want. And he's basically a similar size to Finn Balor, maybe a little bit taller even. And yeah, I definitely appreciate him as a worker. I just wish that they would do something with him. It's funny because this is such a dumb story. Last night I was looking up because there was a topic on Reddit. What creative decision can you not come up with any kind of an excuse for? And it was just that bad. And the two that I immediately came up with were CM Punk losing to Triple H at Night of Champions 2011, and then the walkout storyline that followed that. And I was looking
Right.
up the walkout storyline, trying to figure out like what was so awful about it, trying to remind myself because I remembered hating it. And they showed an episode of SmackDown where they had a bunch of representatives talking about, and it was just a bunch of heels. It was like Jack Swagger and Christian and all those guys. And then Cody Rhodes started talking, and it was when he was in his undashing gimmick.
Right.
And he said one sentence and got Vicky Guerrero levels of nuclear heat immediately. He was that over as a heel when he had that undashing gimmick.
I always said that Undashing was probably one of the few, if only, main event potential gimmicks that Cody Rhodes has had to date.
Yeah,
Like, freaking love that
it
gimmick,
was
dude.
so good. And I'm not necessarily saying that he needs to go back to that, but what I'm saying is that was the WWE giving him an opportunity to kind of flex his acting muscles, which he's very clearly got pretty big ones, if I may say so myself. And I just want to see him be given an opportunity. I'm not necessarily asking for them to push him to the moon. Just give him television time, give him mic time, give him an opportunity to do something other than this freaking. And you know what, dude? The crappy thing is, I shouldn't even be saying take away the Stardust gimmick because he seems to enjoy doing it. But if there is a way for them to find him something to do that isn't Stardust that he can sink his teeth into even more than Stardust, it would make me so happy because I don't think Stardust is ever going to be legitimately over the same way that Goldust was in the mid 90s as a heel.
Right. Yeah, and again, it just goes back to our creative discussion earlier with Baron. There's so much I could say on that, but I'm gonna pass on it for now, maybe another day. But yeah, Cody really is like he's an amazing prospect. I'm curious about this whole feud with Stephen Amell that'll probably culminate into something at SummerSlam, maybe even a match, which would be intriguing. I'm not gonna lie, but we'll see what happens. But I'm just glad he's got something to do. And you know what? This is obviously very emotional for Cody because he said that Dusty always taught him finish what you started, kid, and Cody's doing that. So I've got to commend him for it. I just hope that whatever happens after the fact, if it's him going back to Cody Rhodes, if it's him maybe taking some time off and coming back as something new, let's really shatter the glass ceiling this time.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to see.
If anybody doesn't deserve a glass ceiling, it's him.
Absolutely.
Up next, we had a replay of the Roddy Piper tribute. They show his tribute that Madison Square Garden put up on their marquee. But then we get into a Roman Reigns Dean Ambrose promo. They quoted Roddy Piper from the movie They Live, where he said about how he's here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and he's all out of bubblegum. And Dean Ambrose, in between saying kick ass and I'm all out of bubblegum, he actually spit out the gum that he was chewing. So really just great delivery. But then Orton shows up and tells them to do what they want as long as they leave Sheamus to him. And another thing, we forgot to talk about the Wyatt promo that Sheamus showed up for.
Oh yeah. I think it was just again we go from last week it was such an interesting promo from Bray, made me fall in love with him again. But again, then we go back to the stuff where I'm like, honestly, I was kind of half in, half out for this promo. If you want the honest truth, Ashton, I just
Okay,
feel
well,
like
what
Bray.
about the Ambrose Reigns Orton promo?
I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I love the chemistry between Reigns and Ambrose. And I love that Reigns is like, Bray, all you do is talk, 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 but I was born to fight. I love to fight, and he just really, drives that point home. And then yeah, Orton cuts in, and I love the whole imagery of these guys, wearing hot rod t-shirts. It was a cool moment. The Bray segment and everything. He once again talks about how Roman, he's like he's this hero for these people, but I don't know if he denies himself the truth. I mean, Bray always says so much, and then Sheamus cutting in, though I will admit was kind of funny. Just seeing him in that background with the Wyatts, because he just
Yeah.
seems like so out of place.
I love that they replaced upside down Sheamus with Sheamus.
Exactly. And I think the word I'm really looking for is juxtaposition, because you've
Yeah.
got all these dark, murky colors, and you've got like this bright, ginger, Irish fighter, coming in with the crazy hairstyle, which
And
we
the
both
pale
love.
skin and
Yeah. And he's just like, and I'm gonna hit a bro kick, and then the way he says out of nowhere, like I don't know, it got me chuckling a little bit.
well, I mean, he said it as a way to mock Randy Orton RKO out of nowhere.
Right, right. I'm telling you, dude, this heel Sheamus is so good. I can't
He
wait for him to
is.
cash in,
Yeah.
and then just drink everybody's tears on Squared Circle subreddit, and I guess
It's gonna be
elsewhere.
so delicious.
Yeah, I know, right?
Almost as delicious. Oh, never mind. I'm never gonna go there.
Yeah. So Sheamus, I think, really livened this up for me. But man, like, you know what I think my problem was with Bray? I think I'd be more into his promos, and it kind of proved it last week if he was doing them in front of an audience, because I feed off of crowd reaction. I guess I'm just that kind of wrestling fan, that wrestling observer
Oh
when I'm
no,
watching
I
it on
totally
TV.
agree with you. Like I think it was either last week or the week before that, he did cut a promo in the middle of the ring, and it was a billion times better than this style of promo from him.
Bray is a guy, and it really clicked for me thanks to last week. And I'm actually grateful that he did it last week. Bray is a performer of atmosphere. Now, I pretty much, I guess every wrestler is, right? Because you perform in front of large crowds. But there are some people that I think can really pull off those backstage segments and be like, wow, that was cool. I don't think Bray's one of those guys. I don't. I think he needs to be in front of people. He needs some kind of presence when he's doing this stuff. It just doesn't come off the same when that is lacking. And I think I finally made that connection last week, because I'm like, wow, he was so interesting again. Wait a minute, it's because he was actually addressing, we'll call them his fireflies or whatever. He was addressing them, and it freaking works. And now when he's not, when he's just hiding, behind the Titantron, it's like I can't get into it because it's missing that dimension. It's missing the crowd. Uh, so yeah, I guess passable thing here from the Wyatts, and of course Sheamus, I feel like was the highlight of this thing. So it kind of built anticipation for the tag match. Nothing more you can say than that.
Absolutely. Up next, we had Stephen Amell talking about how he's going to be a part of Raw next week. They showed I think it was a tweet of his, so that was kind of the confirmation on that. I know we talked about it earlier, but we got the confirmation here. And then we go into our main event: Orton, Ambrose, and Reigns versus Wyatt, Harper, and Sheamus. I don't really have anything to say about this match other than that it was a fun match. It was a good way to send the crowd home happy. And at the end of the day, Reigns pinned Sheamus. So yet again, we see our Money in the Bank holder getting pinned.
Right. Yeah.
Nothing new here.
Yeah, you pretty much
They're
summed up my
definitely
review.
not working on reinventing the wheel with this.
Certainly not. It was a fun tag match. I think it wanted to send the crowd home happy with the babyfaces on top, given the mournful tone of the show, at least peppered throughout with the passing of Roddy Piper. I felt like they achieved that. This is a fun match, to your point. Nothing more to say than that. We can move on, actually, because I have nothing else to say.
Well, that was the main event, brother, so if you want to move on, move on.